Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Anytime Notebook for We Love Betting. Hope you're well. You're kind of a one-stop shop, I think, for musings on Anytime Notebook value in Leagues 1 and 2. Probably not the place to come for winners these days, although I've always thought that backing winners is a little bit overrated. Much more important in today's modern age just to sound like you know what you're talking about. So, without saying any more, let's look ahead at three pretty decent selections, which I say most weeks, but yeah, three. No, when they look, I'm looking down here on my bit of paper. They look fantastic and stand out and can't get beat. Let's start talking about them. First off, Portsmouth at home to Hartlepool. Portsmouth had a change of manager. Always a good time, I think, when you have a change of manager as a punter, a chance to kind of quickly get on board and see whether the new manager has had any psychological difference. Richie Barker left, Andy Orford came in as caretaker manager, as he did when Guy Whitnam left earlier in the season as well. Already talked about the psychological effect and unleashing the shackles and letting them express themselves a bit more, which is good news for goal punters. What we benefit here from, I think, in terms of betting, is just the simple nature of the modern footballer. Just runs around, so easily influenced by someone different telling them what to do, where to go on a pitch, listening to someone different in the changing room. You wouldn't think it made that much of a difference, do you? But to them, their simple little brains, it makes all the difference. And such was the case maybe last week, where 20 games they went under Richie Barker, where they scored more than one goal just the once. They managed to do it in Andy Orford's first game in caretaker charge. Admittedly, it was 2 goals against the Newport side that had been reduced to 9 men. However, positive feeling. It brought an end to a run of 3 straight defeats. So I think Portsmouth, heading to this game against Hartlepool, feeling a little bit better about themselves. I still think there's some good players in this Portsmouth side, and I think they're just, under the right manager, they could be a different kettle of fish. You look at Ricky Holmes, Jed Wallace, Wes Fogden, I'm going to talk about in a second. There's still some good players in this side who, given the licence to express themselves, can do a good job, particularly maybe this weekend against Hartlepool, who I think are pretty much done. Mid-table will suit them fine this year. Went through some good patches, went through some bad patches, but not going to go up, not going to go down. I think just half an eye on pre-season maybe, he says. So what do we know about Portsmouth then? Ricky Holmes, Jed Wallace, Wes Fogden, all those players that I've mentioned, all showed a lot of attacking intent in that win at Newport last week, in behind Ryan Taylor, who was the one up front. Every suggestion that Orford may stick with that this weekend. Up the prices then, probably Wes Fogden, who doesn't have the most prolific nature to his goal scoring, but nevertheless is a good player. Did really well in a Bournemouth side, didn't he, last couple of seasons. And 5-1, I think, just in behind Ryan Taylor, which is where he was last week. Like I said, against the Hartlepool side and in front of a vociferous Portsmouth crowd, who I think could spur their side on to better things towards the end of the season. Although I'm well aware that I probably said that just after Guy Whitnam left and Richie Barker came in charge. However, we'll try again, see if they get it right this time. Wes Fogden makes up the first leg at 5-1. Next off, we'll stay in League 2. Dagenham head to Wycombe. Been really keen on Dagenham. Talked them up on the There's No Turning Back podcast this week. Lots of reasons why. Wycombe's bad run continued. They put together a good run, Gareth Ainsworth, kind of throughout February, and then just a difficult run of fixtures just came at just the worst time. The goals have stopped being scored, the wins have stopped being racked up as well. They got dragged right back into that relegation picture as well. Had 2 new centre backs last weekend. Admittedly they kept out Scunthorpe, but it was a backs to the walls job, and they're going to face similar problems. I think when Dagenham head there this weekend, really interesting time for Dagenham. Went through a poor run just after Christmas, but just managed to keep in touch really. And 5 points off the playoffs, so that last playoff spot is still up for grabs. Had a really good win last weekend at Oxford, quite fortuitous in terms of the goal. But in the next 5 games, they play all of the bottom 4, so a chance, get their heads down. No point in them kind of sitting back and wondering what will happen. Get your head down, score some goals, and see what happens, see if they can nab that last playoff space. The Dagenham price attracts me, as does the scoring over 1.5 goals at 5-2, which they've done in 3 of their last 4 away games. And that included without top goal scorer Reece Murphy, who's been out since the start of the month, or I think probably a little bit earlier, since the start of March, sorry, with injury. Zavon Hines had been missing for a prolonged period as well. Reports that I read suggest that Reece Murphy could be back this weekend. However, every chance I think that Wayne Burnett sticks with Luke Norris, who scored a hatful of goals for Northampton. I foolishly kind of got a little bit overexcited and backed him for the 2 top goal scorer around about Christmas time, but he left Northampton, found himself at Dagenham, and still continued to score the goals. 3-1 I thought was pretty big for him against the Dagenham side that looks sure to attack, I think, and take the game to Wickham. Like I said, all of those prices in the Dagenham market attract me. So Luke Norris 3-1 to add to Wes Fogden. Last of all, a match that I spent ages and ages picking over last night. Oldham head to Bradford, which seems a nothing game at the best of times. I think it's a local derby, isn't it? Just up one of those M roads that you have in the Manchester area. Yeah, Oldham v Bradford. I'm sure they're only a couple of miles away from each other. Good runs of form, I think, for both of these sides. Oldham unbeaten in 4, fully worth that 0-0 draw at Brentford last weekend, and fully worth the point at Leyton Orient that they got before that as well. Playing well, I think, creating chances. Head to a Bradford side who are also, I think, playing well. I thought they might be flirting with relegation towards the middle part of the season, but they pulled away nicely. 0-0 draw at Coventry last weekend. They beat Orient the weekend before that as well. A couple of defeats to Walsall and Shrewsbury before that, but there's a bit of an illness going through the camp. So both sides, I think, playing well. Like I said, I thought about it a lot. I fancy an Oldham goal scorer just here. I'll mention all the names that came up on the list, just in case they score, and you say, I think, Gavin did mention that, but Danny Philliskirk still came up on the list. James Veselowski came up at a big price. Couldn't quite put him up, despite the fact that I keep seeing that number 4 shirt for Oldham pop up on the edge of the area, taking the free kicks as well. When I went to bed last night, I couldn't get the idea of Gary Harkins pulling in from the left hand side and rifling one into the bottom right hand corner. He goes off at 15-4, which is an odd price. It's just short of 4-1 for people that like dealing in proper prices, not like the 15-4 you have these days. So he's going to make the final one of the list for an Oldham side that I think are playing well and head to Bradford with every chance. Probably just slightly Oldham on the pick there as well, at around about 9-5. So I'll put in a good word for them. Gary Harkin, I think he scored around about 5 or something goals. It was on loan from a team up in Scotland, St Mirren, I think they ring a bell. I'm sure people will correct me if that's wrong. Like I said, more important to sound like you know what you're talking about. But yeah, I think he's from St Mirren. Let's quickly wrap this up for me, rambling on to after the 8-minute mark. Gary Harkin for Oldham as they head to Bradford. Luke Norris for Dagenham at 3-1 as they head to Wickham. And Wes Fogden for Portsmouth as they host Hartlepool. Whatever you are backing, have a fantastic weekend. I'll see you on the other side.